Ohayou gozaimasu. I am the Countess, and welcome to Nefarious News, your only news source for things that have upset me so severely that I decided to film a news story to put them online. On today's show, we have an all-Square Enix special. The topics are Square Enix selling off its classic IPs and studios to invest in more crypto. Kingdom Hearts 3 has an update on the Switch that tells you when it's not a good time to play the game. Finally, my review / rant about Final Fantasy VI Pixel Remake. Square Enix selling classic IP for NFTs. To quote Adam Jensen,
I never asked for this.
Strike that, I did, kind of, but not like this. Curse you, monkey paw! The reason I bring this up is Deus Ex is a classic game. With that said, someone just reinstalled it to play it. But why am I bringing a game up that came out in the year 2000? Because the company that owns the rights to Deus Ex just sold it along with Tomb Raider, and that company is the only Square Enix. Along with the rights to other various IPs, they got the companies behind them. Crystal Dynamics, Eidos Montreal, and Square Enix Montreal. They might want to change that last one. So, with all the different companies being bought up, like this huge purchase of Bethesda and Activision by Microsoft and Sony buying Bungie, with each of those deals being in the billions, how much do you think that the studios with major IPs like Tomb Raider and Deus Ex, Thief, and Legacy of Kain would be worth? Think about it. I'll let you think about it. $300 million. 300 million. I would make a joke about women making only 70% of what men do, but if Lara Croft alone was the 300 million, she would be worth just over 8% of what Bungie, the makers of Master Chief, was to Sony. Ouch. Maybe having Kane and Lynch included knocked the price down. Still, the question that you might ask is, why have they done this fire sale on iconic IPs? It's easy enough, we just have to look at Square Enix's own words. The transaction will assist the company in adapting to the changes underway in the global business environment by establishing a more efficient allocation of resources, which will enhance corporate value by accelerating business, digital entertainment domain. In addition, the transaction enables the launch of new businesses by moving forward with investments in the field, including crypto, blockchain, aka NFTs, things that I cannot legally say are Ponzi pyramid schemes. But if you notice, all the ads for NFTs have mildly vanished, and those apes sure were bored and lost a whole lot of value. Yeah, those NFT things again! Who knew the president of Square was going to invest in it? I just wish the cost of something other than classic franchises and development studios. I do wish the best for the developers. Hopefully they will land on their feet. We will just have to see if anything good does come from this trade. I mean, if Square Enix gets NFTs in trade for us getting a good Deus Ex game, I would be down for it. But again, I did wish for a remake of Final Fantasy VI, and damn you, Monkey Paw! Kingdom Hearts 3 for the Switch update version 1.03. Before I have my go at the Final Fantasy VI remake, we'll have a small palate cleanser of Kingdom Hearts 3 for the Switch Death by Sleep Birth Remix. To be honest, I've never played a Kingdom Hearts game, so please apologize of any joke I make involving the name, but it doesn't mean that Square Enix doesn't deserve hell for screwing things up. Now, I will say the issue is not squarely on Square Enix, but I do wonder if there could have been other solutions for the problem. The issue is that Kingdom Hearts 3 for the Switch Redux Remake streams its data, just like when you're listening to music or watching movies. Data is streamed so that you can get your entertainment, but it's pieces at a time. Now, for media, that's not a big deal. You might notice a little quality loss or stuttering if there is a network problem or congestion. It's not horrible. With a game, though, with congestion or network problems, if you've ever played online and had bad ping, you know you're not going to have a good time. I mean, you don't need Sora sniping you from halfway across the screen. With Kingdom Hearts 3 for the Switch Before Death Always, because all the data is coming from servers, they at times have been overloaded and prevented people from playing the game. So with the new patch 1.03, Square Enix fixed this issue. Huzzah! And the fix is to just let the player know it's not a good time to play the game. Sorry honey, can't play today. The game you bought, that you're not subscribed to like Netflix. You bought Kingdom Hearts for the Switch. And I would also like to state that the Switch is a portable device, that you can take anywhere and you're not guaranteed an internet connection. So yeah, smart. I will say being able to get the game to work on the Switch is impressive by using this technology, but this just goes to show you how far behind the technology we have needs to be valid. Just look at the resounding success the Google Stadia was. Oh, it's covered in dust. Ugh. And people keep asking, though, about a better Switch. A Switch Pro, a Super Switch, a Switch 64, or a Switch Wii U. But right now you can't even buy a Switch, let alone any other game system. So I'm not holding my breath for a new one. The hardware for what it does is amazing. But the solution for higher performance is not the cloud. I mean, yes, he can look cute in a dress, but not my bag of tea or cup of water, whatever. For now, unless you're a die-hard Kingdom Hearts fan, I would skip it on the Switch and just pick up Smash Bros. It has Sora and Sephiroth in it, and you can play without needing to be online. So, big brain maneuver. I touched a Stadia controller, ugh! Ah! Final Fantasy VI Pixel Remake Review/Rant. For those that have paid attention to my antics over the years should know that Final Fantasy VI is my personal favorite game of all time. There is so much to the game that I could do an hour-long video on just the villain, my good fiend Kefka. I loved the game so much that I gave Square Enix more of my hard-earned money and bought Final Fantasy VI Pixel Remaster with the hope that it would make me not want to claw my eyes out in front of the camera. Or at least if I did, I would do it on stream. Well, I still have my eyes, but I had to stop playing it. I will say this, it is the best legal version you can buy on Steam right now. With that part out of the way, buckle up, strap in, and get your popcorn ready. It's time. So, right out of the gate, there is a bug before you even have control of the party. In one of the first showcases of the power of the SNES Mode 7 in the original game, you see the 3 Magitech soldiers walking into the town, covered in snow as it blows, while the credits are rolling. Well, in the remake, they fixed that. And by fixed it, I mean the credits are missing. And that just broke me from the start. Now, before we even get past the opening, I cannot stand the pixel sprite upgrades done. I understand that my take on graphics and how they should look is subjective, but they're horrible. Just look at it. Look at what they did to Kefka. Look at what they did to everybody. Also, the soundtrack. Yes, some people are praising it, but I ordered the original soundtrack from Japan on something called a compact disc back in the day because I loved it so much. The way they did some of the remixes is just horrible on this game. I stopped playing before I got to the iconic opera scene, but I heard they updated it, and I don't even want to look it up to see what they did to it. I heard they added vocals. I don't care. I don't want to. Don't hurt me anymore. Once I could actually control the characters, I found out that my controller did not work. Now, I was using this. A classic style SNES USB controller. And it turns out that some of the needed functions would not work without having trigger buttons. Not bumpers, buttons. And I could not remap them to work correctly. How could a game that was ported onto the Game Boy Advance that only had an A, B, start, select, left, and right button screw this up? Last issue with the controller. You have to use the keyboard to enter a character's name. Even if you are not using the keyboard to start with. It was unlogical, unsensical. I couldn't understand it for a while. Now, moving on. When we talk about JRPGs, especially the older games, one thing that comes to mind is how the game is translated. With Final Fantasy VI, the name Ted Woolsey should be both fondly or not fondly remembered, depending on who you ask. Some of the translation choices ended up being called Woollyisms, which caught on so much that they actually changed how some of the characters were viewed in the West. One classic is Son of a Submariner, that Kefka yells. This was done to avoid profanity. So, was this line kept? No. They changed it into Son of a Sandworm or something. It wasn't funny! Is this good or bad? In my option, I like Woollyisms, but they're not everyone's cup of tea. Is not just in this version, but in others is how Cells is represented. Now, in the original, the first time you meet her, she is chained to the wall and is being beaten into unconsciousness by the soldiers holding her captive. With the updated version, they remove the chains. She is just standing there when the soldier says something, and then she falls over. They don't even touch her. I get it. You should not tie up or hit anyone without consent. But I really feel like that they took away part of her character by doing this disservice. She was a strong general who was willing to go through this because of her ideals. But now it just makes her look like some opera floozy and weak. Locke shows up to save her, What is he saving her from? Nothing. Literally, there is no threat. She could have woken up, stolen the key, and walked out the door. So, do I have anything good to say about this game? It has a mini-map that helps you, along with an item list and bestiary for completion, which are useful, but also can be a bit of a buzzkill because it shows where hidden items are. The auto battle is nice, but I was doing my standard low-level run-through at the time, so it was worthless. And you always have sprint shoes equipped, so you can always run, which is a time saver, so that's nice. Now, are there worse versions of this game? Yes. Two quickly come to mind. The original mobile port that was so bad I didn't even want to touch it, but the worst version still is for the PlayStation. And that thing was a mess. The only good thing about it was they added an FMV opening. But they also added loading screens. All the loading screens between everything, battles, movement, everything. You close your eye, loading screens. What made it worse is, during timed events, loading screens. So you couldn't actually get through some sections easily. It was almost unplayable. But just because this is the third worst game does not win it any prizes in my book. With that, what do I suggest? Well, my personal favorite version is the Game Boy Advanced one. Yes, it has issues, mainly due to the hardware, with the colors and music being muted and crushed, but what it added back was extra dungeons that were unlocked after finishing the game, signature weapons for all the characters, and 4 espers that expanded the game, and general bug fixes. Now, I'm not going to say that you should look and find a ROM and hack it to have these features into a classic SNES version and also maybe fix some of the translations or other bugs. I would never recommend using Google to do such a thing, let alone find other fan versions that completely overhaul the game to make it into a better masterpiece. Never recommend doing that. But do you want to know, though, what upsets me the most? That I spent money on it, and it was one of the highest grossing games of the month on Steam. I get it. People wanted to play a classic game, but they deserved better! To end this rant about Square Enix, I just hope I don't have to do another one of these, at least anytime soon. I mean, I might be blinded by nostalgia. I mean, I love Squaresoft, the classic game company that I still love. But the merger with Square Enix to make Squeenix was a sad day. At least I still have some hope now that Squeenix has their dirty hands off of DSX, and we might get a great cyberpunk game that I might have just asked for. Until next time, sayonara. You know the drill. Like, comment, subscribe, post on the socials, follow me on Twitter. If you want to help me the most, join me at patreon.com/thecountess. That way I can purchase the $14,000 statuette of Terra at 1/6 size. And if you really want, you can tell me in the comments that you want to see highlights of me playing Final Fantasy VI Pixel Edition and ripping my eyes out because I hate myself.